allow me to indulge in a few reflections. The annual meeting provides us a wonderful opportunity to pause and reflect. Now that we've shifted our fiscal year to align with the program year, we can view a complete picture of our efforts, challenges, and achievement with the added bonus of navigating alongside the Jewish calendar. And what a year it has been. While the pandemic may have kept us from congregating in person as much as we had hoped, our community found creative ways to maintain and build connections to Jewish life. Synagogues hustled and bustled as congregants adapted to Zoom while attending services at high numbers. Day schools, religious schools, and preschools experimented with online, outdoors, experiential classrooms that engaged students in new ways. Day and overnight camps pioneered pathways to safe summer experiences. Jewish Family Service and the Towers continued high levels of service, helping individuals and families, providing nourishment and support. Hillel's, the Jewish Historical Society, the Jewish Cemetery Association, and other organizations continued their missions. The JCC remained open, safe, and welcoming for people of all ages and abilities to recreate, exercise, and learn both in person and online. The foundation grew both in size and in grant opportunities to enhance the community. And the Jewish Federation never stopped its drive to meet the expectations and needs of the community. All of us together, that is the secret to a strong and vital community. And that is our secret for thriving during a global pandemic. In addition to our meeting falling amidst the high holy days, it also falls in close proximity to September 11th. My colleague, John Risquet, who was CEO of the UJA Federation of New York, said in the days after the attack that UJA was able to respond to the needs on September 11th because it was strong and present on September 10th. We must all continue to strengthen our Jewish Federation so we are ready to respond to the needs that arise, especially the unimaginable. Our theme for this year could not have been more perfect. We were built for this. Throughout this year, we have worked tirelessly to support our community as we continue to navigate the challenges that COVID presents. Our integrated enterprise, the Jewish Federation, Jewish Foundation, and JCC accomplished so much. I hope that you will take the time to read through our annual report. Like me, I expect you to be awestruck at the enormity of what we accomplished this year, despite the backdrop of COVID. Please take time to review our staff list and take note of those with many years of service. We value all those who serve and those who have served but are no longer on our staff. When I took the helm of our Jewish Federation almost 6 years ago, our leadership hoped that we would tackle a bylaws revision, as we had not done so since before the integration of the JCC with the Federation in 2008. It has been a long time coming, but with the determination of our president, Steve Fleischman, the continued commitment of Norm Rapsky, and the insight of David Schlossberg and Robin Teplitsky, hopefully, with your vote tonight, we will have gotten it done. Those of you who have been along for the ride for a while know that we have had a few challenges over the years. If there's anything we know how to do, it's to deal with a crisis, even one on Zoom tonight. The fire presented us with a choice. We took that opportunity to reimagine the JCC enterprise, and the results were stunning. Just prior to the pandemic, we were on our way towards a large surplus. COVID not only erased our fiscal gains, but it put us into a deficit position. Again, we stepped up to the challenge. Just as before, we gathered together smart and insightful lay leaders and asked them to help us plan for the possible, the probable, and the unimaginable. We cannot thank the members of the COVID-19 Financial Planning Committee enough for their help, and I would be remiss if I did not call out the tremendous investment of time and hard work by Chief Financial Officer Deb Cole, JCC Executive Director Scott Cohen, our talented treasurers Randy Harrison and Paul Portnoy, the Finance Committee, and our JCC and Federation Presidents Jeffrey Sklarz and Steve Fleischman. While our efforts at aggressive fiscal management has helped, we were blessed by the support of the federal government's PPP loans, of which we received 2, totaling $1.6 million, a loan from JCRIF, the National Jewish Funders Group of $750,000, and generous contributions of local community members. Even before the pandemic, we understood that we needed better pathways towards creating a sustainable future for Greater New Haven. And we knew that we needed professional expertise to help us think strategically. With the help of the Seedlings Foundation, we engaged Melior Group and Panoramic Strategies to help us conduct focus groups to survey our Jewish community to understand what you felt were our priorities. Then, under the leadership of Norm Ravsky and with the tremendous professional help of Robin Teplitsky, we recruited a demographically diverse committee of community leaders alongside the Federation Board to develop a strategic plan to help us sustain the future. I am so pleased to report this evening that we have already taken several steps, acting on those recommendations. Our community made clear that security was one of its top priorities as we continue experiencing rising anti-Semitism and hate. In fact, recently released statistics indicate that while Jews represent just 2% of the nation's population, almost 60% of hate crimes are perpetrated on the Jewish community. Secure Community Network was created in the wake of 9/11 to address the growing threats facing the American Jewish community. Since that time, the threats have only grown, and we have witnessed tragic attacks like those in Pittsburgh, Poway, Jersey City, and Muncie. Beginning his tenure later this month, New Haven's own Michael Shambrown will take the role of Regional Security Advisor for SDN in service to the Jewish communities of Greenwich, Stamford, Western Connecticut, and New Haven. We are looking forward to his support of our local agencies, congregations, Jewish establishments, and law enforcement as he conducts assessments, trainings, and offers his help to ensure that our community is better prepared to address our safety and security concerns. In addition to Southern and Western Connecticut's RSA, the Jewish Federation of Greater Hartford has also hired an SCN security director who will work collaboratively with Mike. Together, they will cover 80% of the state, and I hope that eventually the program will grow to cover the entirety of Connecticut. I want to thank Lenny and Linda Bell for their generous support of this initiative. Our community's security needs require investment in hardening of facilities, the installation of cameras and devices, protective window films, and many other costly items. Fortunately, with the help of state and federal grants, funding which has increased due to the lobbying efforts of JFNA and our Jewish Federations Association of Connecticut, and with the local support offered by Arthur Eder Family Fund in memory of Arthur and Yvette Eder, grants through the Jewish Foundation are making sure that our community is better protected every day. Another key recommendation in our strategic plan called for changes to our planning and allocations model. The plan calls for increasing the dollars available for local investment. I'm proud to report that even with our fiscal challenges, we have increased local available funds for two years in a row. Due to the uncertainty of the pandemic last year, we adjusted our process to make quarterly determinations based upon cash collections. While this was a fiscally responsible thing to do, we discovered that increased communications with agencies was a wonderful added bonus. This year, we will continue that approach alongside a new online portal to simplify the process. And also new this year will be the addition of community impact grants to open the opportunity for all Jewish organizations to benefit from the annual campaign dollars, including synagogues. Beginning with a carve out of 10% of our allocable funds, we hope to increase the percentage each year. Thank you to Sammy Merritt and Chesky Holtzberg for leading our dedicated P&A committee. We called upon you all to work harder, and you did. We asked you to continue this year, and you didn't blink. This is another reason why our community is so special. Also, with the strategic plan, we undertook a major restructuring of our financial systems with the help of the outside nonprofit specialist markup. This was no small task, and the ongoing system refreshes will enable our organization's management to be even better. Of course, none of this is possible without the support of our community. And this year, your support was overwhelming. You will note in the annual report that our integrated fundraising efforts, led by our Chief Development Officer, Amy Holtz, delivered more than $3.1 million in support of our organization and community. We also conducted several emergency campaigns to respond to crises. At the same time, our Jewish Foundation, under Executive Director Lisa Stanger, has grown significantly to $74 million and increased its grants in support of our community with a special emphasis on seniors. As we think about our fundraising effort, we must adapt our approach. The collaborative effort to grow all fundraising revenue streams is called Total Financial Resource Development. And we will be making a special effort to think about our fundraising through this lens, which increases communication and collaboration between the Federation and Foundation to assist donors with more opportunities to fulfill their philanthropic objectives. When Amy Holtz began her tenure 5 years ago, I presented her with a vision for a new way to think about funds development. I told her I'd like to unite all the Federation and JCC fundraising under one department and to find ways to increase revenues. Well, I may have had an idea, but it was Amy who turned that concept into reality, resulting in exciting new campaigns that have engaged more people in interesting and donor-centric ways. Just this year, Amy conceived of the Make a Splash campaign to benefit JCC Aquatics and the Spread a Little Sunshine campaign that benefits JCC day camps. But the annual campaign remains our primary fundraising engine. As we move forward, we must find new opportunities to open pathways to increase donor engagement. So thank you, Amy, for your impressive hard work and results. And thank you to the campaign leadership and volunteers for their inspiration and hard work, especially our campaign co-chairs, Howard Ryder of blessed memory, and Jody Alant, our Women's Philanthropy President, and our Women's Philanthropy President, Nancy Cohen, for their devoted help and, of course, their cabinets and volunteers. We must continue to build our future by engaging more people with our Jewish community. Our new Shalom Baby Initiative, a collaborative effort showcasing our broad community in PJ Library, are engaging more young families than ever before. And the new Emerging Leadership Program presented by Jay Haven will create a growing pipeline of community leaders. Our newest Wexner cohort will enhance our community with their expanding knowledge. But that is not enough. In the coming weeks, we will be learning more about the recent Pew study. One lesson that is clear is that the racial and ethnic diversity of the Jewish community is changing, and we must find new ways to open our tent to warmly embrace all. Partnerships and collaboration are key to our future vitality. I want to thank those who have welcomed our partnership this year. We are so honored to expand our commitment to Holocaust memory with co-sponsorship of War Shalom's Kristallnacht program. And we were very, very excited to begin new partnerships with Camp Laurelwood and Ezra Academy with PJ Library. We also enjoy partnerships with the Southern New England Consortium with Israel under the leadership of Evan Weiner, and those across Connecticut through JFACT. And we are most excited, beyond most excited, about the upcoming Mission Possible, which will be a super duper mega mission with the Jewish Federation of Greater Hartford, March 9th to the 16th, 2023. Mark your calendars now. Join us to fall in love with Israel or fall back in love with Israel as you have the opportunity to individualize customizable tracks to maximize the experience. We hope you'll join us. In addition to the staff that I've mentioned so far, there are many others who make our organization strong and able to deliver the highest quality services and programs. Nothing we do is possible without high caliber professionals, and I am so grateful to work with a team of the best. If you haven't taken your stuff out of your locker, that's our Cracker Jack staff right on top of our closing time. So nothing we do is possible without them. And I'm so grateful to work with them. Each has been challenged more during the pandemic months in ways that none of us could have anticipated. They had to reimagine service delivery. They shifted to offer quality online programming. They learned to work in new ways, and they never said no. Our marketing team, under the professional leadership of Nurit Cole, works tirelessly to keep our community informed through multiple channels, keeping information current and fresh. This work is deeply appreciated. Scott Cohen's title is JCC Executive Director, but in reality, the service he performs goes above and beyond that huge responsibility. No matter the challenge, Scott is always willing to dive in to support both his direct reports and others. Lisa Stanger understood immediately the enormity of COVID's impact, and in addition to her foundation responsibilities, helped to mobilize the Jewish Federation and Foundation's response through the COVID-19 Maimonides Response Fund, raising and distributing more than $500,000 to meet urgent human needs. Thank you all so much. But our challenges continue. The Delta variant has undermined our growth and recovery, but we will not be daunted. We have positive momentum. We have incredibly dedicated volunteer leadership. We have talented professional leadership at the helms of our agencies, camps, synagogues, and schools. Their ability to adjust to new realities has been monumental, and all should be commended for their efforts. As I draw my remarks to a close, I have the opportunity to introduce a very special tribute. Howard Reiter taught us by his example that we must live every day fully invested in all that we care about, that we should maximize the time we have on earth caring for others in the Jewish community. The people of Israel do not walk alone. We walk together. We stood together at Sinai. We celebrate and mourn together. And we must continue to work together to repair our world. Howard will continue to remind us to pursue our mission with the gusto that he did.
Hi, I'm Howard Reiter. That's what I look like without a mask.
So why do you support Federation? Why are we here today?
I actually grew up in New Haven, and I learned all my early skills at the Jewish Center and in our community. Swimming, basketball, Torah classes. I learned from example from Arthur Spiegel, who was our CEO back then, how to be a Jew with a heart. I believe we have a great community, and I also believe that we need to support world Jewry and people in places that have needs that need to be supported by our contributions, such as in Cuba, Venezuela, Argentina, former Soviet Union. I can go on and on and on. We're very blessed to live in our community in New Haven and have a good life here, and we need to share that wherever we can.
I'm Mark Wilf, Chair of the Board of Trustees of the Jewish Federations of North America, and I'm here to honor Howard on behalf of the 146 Jewish federations in our system. Howard became a trustee of our board a year ago in June. He was excited to be back in the mix of the national system, and we were looking forward to getting him more deeply engaged and taking advantage of his many strengths. He was a true believer in the collective, and his commitment was rock solid. You could say that he and I have led somewhat parallel lives. We both graduated from Princeton University. We both joined family businesses. We both are incredibly devoted to our families, and we both graduated from the National Young Leadership Cabinet. I especially enjoyed our conversations during those years and subsequently referencing those connections, particularly our shared passion for federation and Jewish community. I am a great believer in the impact that Cabinet has had and has on its members, and clearly Howard was no exception. Howard was a special guy with a great sense of humor and a terrific way with people. It's not surprising to learn that his grandfather won a Pulitzer and a Tony. Howard inherited the gene for humor. His passing is a real loss, not only to his family, his wife Jody and their 4 children, and to the New Haven community, but to the entire Jewish community. Hamakom yinachem etchem b'toch she'ar avelei Tzion b'Yerushalayim. May God comfort the Reeder Eilant family amongst the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem.
I first met Howard at my bris. Howard was 2. The families were very close, and as Howard often said, he learned everything he knew about business from our parents, who sat in consecutive rows at the Westville Synagogue every Shabbat for as long as I can remember. Howard always had that playful, devilish smile, so much so that you lost sight of how smart he was, how compassionate he was. During our high school and college years, we only saw each other during the Chagim until we both returned to New Haven and our respective family businesses. It was then that I grew to know Howard in a different light. We traveled to Israel together on a Federation singles mission, got involved in young leadership, and hit the dating scene where we both met the loves of our lives. Through these experiences and our upbringing, Howard's insatiable love of Israel and Yiddishkeit, coupled with his charisma and his unrelenting desire to make the world a better place, he grew to be a leader in the community, his industry, and Klal Yisrael. Many of us are so enchanted by his fun-loving ways and his exuberance for life that we didn't pay attention to the tremendous impact he had on the world around him, a tribute to his humility. Howard's passing has left a void for his family, his friends, and his community. Rarely does someone impact so many and seemingly so effortlessly. My heart aches.
Hi, just want to say a few words about Howard, who we've known pretty much our whole life. Used to spend holidays with the writers as children. So we sort of understand where Howard's deep faith and deep commitment to us and to the Jews and to Israel all started in the Writer household and obviously continued through his whole life to where he was, a major part of our community. And this will also be felt by all of us, not just on a personal level, but on a community level. So we loved Howard and we're going to miss him, but he'll never be forgotten.
Yeah, I did repeat what Josh has to say. Obviously, we grew up in the writer's household celebrating holidays. I was a bit younger than Howard, and just in our professional years have had a lot more time to spend with Howard on a peer-to-peer level. And Howard will certainly be missed by this community. He was this generation's leader, and it's always upsetting, but as Josh said, he'll be in our hearts forever, and we'll miss him dearly.
So Howard and I were two of the Connecticut inductees into the Wexner Heritage Program 30 years ago. And so for Howard, the progression to Young Leadership Cabinet, which both Jeffrey and I were also honored to serve on, and then, ultimately for him to be chosen to serve on the National Board of JFNA, built on that Wexner Foundation. Howard was extremely well versed and learned in Jewish liturgy and Jewish practice. But I think that Wexner provided us with a foundation that encompassed the diversity of the Jewish community, the big tent idea that all were welcome, regardless of their level of observance or even their level of education.
I've known Howard a very long time. And what's interesting is that we often see the big things that people do, and we don't know so much about the little things. I was involved, and Betsy and I were involved in a company in Israel. And as soon as Howard heard that, he was extremely interested in knowing what I was doing, why I was doing it, and that how could he possibly help? And it goes to show his efforts to try to make it easier for other people, because he had so much to offer, and he had so many interesting ideas, and he had so much staying power that we forget that, quite frankly, I'm 8 years older than Howard is, and yet we consider each other peers. And as he grew and his business grew, we talked a lot about business together. And I learned so much from Howard, much more than I ever gave him.
How can any words do justice to my friend, our friend, Howard Ryder? But in thinking about what I might say, I realized that Howard left us the great gift of his words and his deeds so that we live every minute present and with joy. And I wanted to share a couple with you, knowing that all of you have your own gifts from Howard. As some of you may know, Gail and I were given one of those great gifts of spending the weekend before Howard passed with Howard and Jody and cousins Susan and Paul Fiedler up at our lake house in New Hampshire. And we have a chalkboard up in the kitchen. And all day long, Howard and Gail were playfully writing messages back and forth to each other in Hebrew. And a week later, when we received just this unimaginable call that Howard had passed, I walked by the chalkboard and realized that the last message was still up there from Howard in his handwriting. And here's what it said. Lila Tov, Chalamot Paz. Good night, sweet dreams. And there was a whole discussion above my pay grade between Gail and Howard about whether paz was the right word for sweet. Now, Howard's view prevailed, but the word paz also has a more formal meaning, which is pure gold. And I thought, could there be a more beautiful metaphor for Howard than pure gold? We rushed back Sunday morning, and this is an experience some of you also shared. There was a New Year's card in the mailbox from Howard, and I have it right here with me. It's in my Tallis bag. Sorry. And here's what it said. Here's what it says. Happy New Year. We enjoyed such a nice weekend together in New Hampshire. And he says, looking forward to either a ski, beach, lake, anything together. And you know, the first part was just figuring out how to have fun. And it was like Howard, you know, buying me this, I think some of you know, this funky shirt for the Ezra Golf Tournament, of which he had a matching one, and then making me wear it. But because it was Howard, I loved wearing it. And we all have lots of other stories, but it was together, anything together. And that was not a message just for me and Gail and our families. That was a message for all of us. There's no replacing Howard Ryder. He was a force of nature. He was a leader in this community and a soulful Abba to his children and loving husband to Jody. But in this crazy world with all its challenges, he wanted us to go forward together. And that's what I'm going to take away from his words and his deeds, to continue his good works, his generosity, tikkun olam, to not miss a minute and to do it with joy together. After all, I think that's what we're doing on this board. And from Howard to all of us, I think that's pure gold.
Hello, I am Lisa Stanger, Executive Director of the Jewish Foundation of Greater New Haven. Tonight, we are thanking Dr. Craig Sklar, an amazing chair and partner who led the Jewish Foundation over these past 2 years. I am not sure the foundation or I could have accomplished what we did without Craig. Always patient, always thoughtful, always responsive, always thinking of Klal Yisrael, and always brilliant. Thank you, Craig. And this says next.
Thank you very much. So some of what I'm going to say is to reiterate some of the things that Judy mentioned in her opening remarks. But I'd like to talk first about the foundation, where we stand at this point. Our current assets are last year we received gifts of $2.2 million. This year we were already at $2 million. Last year we had charitable distributions to 386 organizations totaling $3.1 million. 82% of those were to Jewish organizations. This year, to date, we've already contributed $3 million. Our investment returns as of June 30th, quarterly was 9.4%, 1 year is 36.13%, and 3 years is 14.13%. That is the help of our investment committee and our professional advisors. I want to talk a little bit about some of the major accomplishments that we've had during the past 2 years and during my term. As Judy has spoken about, with conjunction with the Federation, was the COVID Maimonides Relief Fund, which we raised and distributed $545,000 in emergency aid to JFS, Towers, 12 synagogues, Ezra, and the Southern Connecticut Hebrew Academy for Critical Human Needs. We established a fund for the Jewish elderly with the goal to distribute over $150,000 per year, made possible by thanks to the former Jewish Building Fund Corporation. We also established synagogue and local institution security grants, an initiative in memory of Arthur and Yvette Eder. And in the past 2 years, have distributed $527,000 to 20 synagogues, Camp Laurelwood, the JCC, Southern Connecticut Hebrew Academy, and Ezra Academy. We also recently initiated the investment in Jewish advocacy through J-Lens. I'd like to now recognize some of our outgoing trustees. These are Jeffrey Chafkin, Joan Glazer Margolis, and Barry Feldman. I'd also like to recognize the 20-year term of Rabbi John J. Tilson, appointed by the Board of Rabbis. I'd like to recognize continuing trustees whose terms have ended but have agreed to continue with the foundation. And it's Gary Ginsberg, Cal Watsky, Eric Rabbit, and Doug Skalkel. And tonight we will install new trustees, Nan Birdwitzel, David Haas, Jackie Corral, Lou Schaefer, Glenn Greenberg, Erica Gross, and appointment from the Board of Rabbis, Rabbi Benjamin Skolnick. Our vice chair installed is Eric Green, and we'll be installing a new chair of the foundation, Scott Hurwitz. As we reflect upon the completion of my term as the chair of the Jewish Foundation, I am proud of all that we have achieved during these very difficult times. I could have never anticipated what it would entail to lead the foundation during the pandemic. It's been uplifting and gratifying to be able to help so many of those in need in our community. I personally benefited and want to thank the foundation board and the Federation for allowing me the opportunity to give back. I'm also grateful to our permanent staff for the dedication and excellent work. Lisa Stanger deserves a special thanks and recognition for how essential she is to our success. I'm certain that the mission of the foundation will continue to be advanced by our incoming chair, Scott Hurwitz. He has already displayed much energy and insight during our transition. Thank you all very much. It's been my honor to serve the foundation.
It's my pleasure to introduce Jeffrey Sklarz. This evening marks the end of Jeff's term as JCC president, but not his service to the community. Jeff has guided the JCC during an incredibly difficult period as the pandemic forced a rethinking of the JCC programs, policy, and business model. Jeff has been a warrior for this community, improving our systems and business practice, protecting our members, and respecting our staff. I'm honored to have been his professional partner for these past 2 years and look forward to giving him this gift in person soon. Jeff, from the entire JCC community, thousands strong, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the honor of serving as JCC president for the past 2 years. First and foremost, congratulations to Dave Searwich on becoming the next JCC president. In fact, like me, Dave and Scott before me and Bob before him and several other recent JCC presidents have had a relation to an older generation. That continuity of community is why our work is so important. When I started my term 2 years ago, we were in the process of rebuilding our community and returning to our building after the fire. As was mentioned earlier, with the hard work of our professional staff and help of lay leadership, we returned to our building and we're executing a business plan to put the JCC on a firm financial footing. Needless to say, we were pushed off track. Over the past 18 months, once again, our professional staff, aided by the community, created and executed a plan to once again return to our building safely. COVID has presented endless difficulties, as we all know. But with the generous help of the doctors and scientists in our community, and again, our wonderful staff, we succeeded where others failed. We've had 2 successful years of camp. Beverly Levy has operated successfully with a growing enrollment. The pool's never been busier. We've learned all about the wonders of pickleball, and we have restarted many of the activities, and there's life again in the building. Even since August, when the Delta variant caused a backslide, we've remained open to our members and provided as many services as possible. It has not been easy. We've had to balance our desire to serve the community while staying safe, healthy, and careful. To that end, I want to especially thank Dr. Stephanie Green. Stephanie, to say we relied on your expertise is a rank understatement. How lucky are we to have you in this community to have guided us during this incredibly difficult time. Stephanie, without complaint, would routinely attend 2 to 3 meetings a week and answer endless calls and emails, all while still doing her professional job. Why did she do this? Like the rest of us, she loved the community. Thank you, Stephanie. You are truly a blessing to us. The JCC has been there for me. The JCC has been there for us when we need it, and we are there for the JCC in its time of need. And there are innumerable people that I should be thanking. Of course, we do want to finish this meeting sometime this decade, so I'll limit it. And I apologize that I'm leaving many out. First and foremost, my wife, Karen. Thank you for supporting me during the past 2 years. You listened to me fetch, you've listened to me voice my frustrations, and we're always there to help me. I couldn't have done any of this without you. Thank you, and I love you. Scott Cohen, the JCC is fortunate to have such a dedicated and caring executive director. I always appreciate your calm, steady demeanor, and it's been a nice foil for my, shall we say, more aggressive approach. Judy Alprin, you are the steady hand that guides us all. You set an example and a tone that all leaders should aspire to. My JCC board, members of the reentry committee, members of the various financial committees and everyone else who has helped me along the way. You have worked tirelessly to give this organization the opportunity to succeed under the absolute worst circumstances. Scott Hurwitz and Dave Searwich in particular, thank you for working with me over the last 2 years and teaching me how to be a better leader. Thank you to the entire JCC and Federation staff. You came to work every day dealing with uncertainty, health risk, and putting aside your own worries to ensure that members could access the center. In addition to some thank yous, unfortunately, we have lost many wonderful community leaders this year, and I do want to recognize a few. First, Stuart Grodd. Stuart was one of the original chairs of the relocation committee who worked tirelessly to raise funds and help make our Woodbridge building our home. Stuart was a JCC champion, longtime supporter, as well as a past president of the Federation. Sheila Chernoff was a giant in early childhood education. She was a consultant for Yeladim and now known as Beverly Levy, for many years. In addition to being a longtime JCC member, she was a published poet and mentor to generations of early childhood professionals. And as was mentioned earlier, there isn't enough that can be said about Howard Ryder. Howard was a stalwart member of this community and was one of the key driving forces behind the financial turnaround of the center and getting us back into the building after the fire and then after COVID. You will all be missed. And the reality is we all stand on the shoulders of the giants who came before us, who led before us. By continuing to strive to better our community, to build an organization that provides better service, we honor their legacy. And we, every day and every year when we have these meetings, we renew our commitment to our community and to keep doing better. In many ways, being the JCC president was an easy job. The people around me are so good at what they do, both professional and lay leaders. My main job was to stay out of the way and make sure no one bothered them so they could do their job. It has truly been an honor to be trusted with this position over the last 2 years. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to work to perpetuate and better the community however I could. Dave, I will be there to help you in any way you need me. May your presidency not involve any further disasters, natural or otherwise. Finally, I'd like to welcome Craig Rigglehelp as the JCC Vice President. Congratulations, Craig. I'd also like to congratulate Mike Shambrom on having to leave the JCC board, which is a loss to the board, but that's because he's now our Regional Safety Director, as Judy had mentioned earlier. So with that, President Sirwich, it's all yours. Thank you.
All right, well, Jeff, first of all, you're a friend, you've been a mentor, and your passion for the JCC is truly unparalleled. You know, there's no way to fill the shoes that you're leaving me, but I do plan on trying my best. And the seas that you and Scott and Bob before you have navigated, I'm happy that you guys have left me at the helm, hopefully in calmer seas, and certainly looking forward to blue skies in the future. So looking forward to the challenge, and happy again to be working with such wonderful, intelligent, and dedicated people here at the JCC. Tonight, I'll be presenting 2 awards. One is the Kavod Key Society Award, followed by the Robert M. Pike Award. The Kavod, for 85 years, the Kavod Key has been presented to outstanding lay leaders and volunteers who have worked to make the JCC the community institution that it is today. I was honored to be an inductee in 2015 to serve on the Kavod Committee, and I know that there are other Kavod Key recipients in the audience and virtual audience tonight, and that you should all be recognized for your service. It is my pleasure this evening to induct our newest recipient. Katie Baltimore has volunteered at the JCC for over 10 years. She first came to the building for swim classes. When she walked past the library and saw the doors locked and lights turned off, she wondered, how could a Jewish facility have a closed library? Under her leadership as head librarian, the space has transformed from a dark and closed off room to a beautiful and well-organized library open to the public. In addition to being a tireless and dedicated worker, Katie's upbeat demeanor and love of books is appreciated by the many library patrons that she assists today. It is my honor to welcome Katie Baltimore to the Kavod Key Society.
Hi, I don't know if you can see me or hear me. I just want to let people know how very much I thank you for this award. And as I've said a lot of times before, I've gotten so much more from all of you than I could ever give. And I am just humbled very much that you appreciate my efforts. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Katie.
Thank you.
Next award I'll be presenting tonight is the Robert M. Pike Award. Tonight it's going to be presented to Brooke Berry. The Robert M. Pike Youth Award is given yearly in honor of Bob Pike, a longtime teen advisor and community volunteer. The award recognizes the outstanding contributions of teens to our community. I am pleased to announce that this year's Robert M. Pike Youth Award recipient is Brooke Berry. Brooke is a leader in many areas of the Jewish community. Her work as a camp counselor at Camp Laurelwood stands out. Brooke was a leader as a camper and now as a staff member. She is a role model for campers and colleagues alike. Brooke volunteered during the summer for 2020 for in-person and virtual programs and is always first in line to lend her assistance. She is an active member of her synagogue and a board member of the BBYO chapter. In her free time, she's an active volunteer at Jewish Senior Services in Bridgeport. Brooke embodies the principles of service to others that defined Robert Pike and is a worthy recipient of this award.
Hello, I'm Larry Eisner. I'm here on behalf of myself and my sisters. I'd like to thank the Federation for awarding the Robert Eisner Community Service Award again this year. The award was established in 1983 to honor individuals and organizations who have made significant contributions in both the Jewish and secular communities. Malcolm Weber was the first person to receive this award. The operative word for this award is community, something my father cared deeply about. And he was a fully active participant in this community. As president of the JCC, UJA, and on the board of the Federation, among many other things. Why so much community activity and participation? In a speech to the Federation in 1963, my father explained why. I must be in tune with the times and be aware of the problems, issues, and ambitions of the community. It follows then that the responsibility is mine to learn, to participate, and to help shape the community, the kind of community in which I want to live. Something else my father cared deeply about was education. I know this firsthand, as it was something my father stressed to my sisters and me over many years. Knowing a bit more about my father, there can be no better tribute to his memory and his commitment to support both community and education than bestowing this award on deserving recipients each year. For 2021, the Robert Eisner Community Service Award is presented to Ezra Academy, Southern Connecticut Hebrew Academy, and Yeshivos Beis David Shlomo. Since the onset of the pandemic, our Jewish day schools were among the first to close buildings, the first to go online, and some of the first to be back in person or hybrid. With all the turmoil of the pandemic, our schools continued doing what they do best, inspiring and educating our children and preparing them for a vibrant Jewish future. We salute the passion and dedication of teachers and the determination of leadership in their response to the needs of students, faculty, and families. These three awardees carefully guarded the health and safety of their educational communities and protected their students and families in the broader community. The achievements of the past year, the growth in enrollment, and the awareness of the power of community have all deepened our school's resilience and the strength of Jewish education in Greater New Haven. Congratulations to Ezra Academy, Southern Connecticut Hebrew Academy, and Yeshivas Beis David Shlomo. It is my honor to present them with this year's Robert Eisner Community Service Award.
This has been a most unusual school year, but I will say that we're feeling quite accomplished by the fact that we were able to open our doors on September 1st and have stayed open the entire school year.
How has the year been? Amazing. You know, like just having the children, you know, come, like being able to be in school, in person, with other children in, you know, in a safe way has just like every day we were just so grateful.
So Baruch Hashem, for the last 2-3 years, we've been here in Yeshiva working very, very hard on transforming ourselves to a task-based learning, assignment-based learning, and guided learning. So we really over COVID ramped that up and totally transformed ourselves.
Good evening. I'm Dina Shulman Green, the immediate past campaign chair. Isidore Zeke Still was a longtime supporter of the Jewish Federation of Greater New Haven. He solicited pledges most of his adult life, was a frequent guest at Federation events, and was always present to support the community. The Isidore Still Award for Campaign Excellence recognizes individuals who uphold the values that Zeke still lived by: tikkun olam, repairing the world; chesed, or kindness; and tzedakah, charity. As campaign chairs for the past year, Jody Alant and Howard Reiter have upheld Zeke Still's legacy. The 2021 campaign raised $2,467,654, $100,000 more than budget. We were ahead of pace almost all year due to Howard and Jody's push to start early in securing major donors before the major gifts event in fall 2020. We experienced a 4% increase card for card with repeat donors from the 2020 campaign. Howard and Jody continued to close gifts until 8 p.m. on August 31st, the last day of the campaign. Over the past year, Howard and Jody led by example, had personal conversations with donors despite the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic, and were making plans for the 2022 campaign, which launched September 1st. As always, they demonstrated their understanding of the importance of community, of tzedakah, and of helping others in need. They rallied our campaign solicitors and engaged new solicitors who worked tirelessly over the last few weeks of the campaign. They had a vision of where this community could go and began developing a roadmap of how to get there. It is with a range of emotions that I present the Isidore Still Award for Campaign Excellence to Jody and to Howard, whose memory will always be a blessing. Jody, on behalf of our community, Toda Rabah, our gratitude is limitless. Please know how very much you and Howard are and always will be loved, admired, and appreciated.
Before I give out one more award, I want to take a moment of personal privilege to just congratulate my niece, who happens to be Brooke Berry, which I didn't know she was getting the award until I saw the event for tonight and found out last week. So Brooke, I'm very proud of you. You make our family proud. Keep up the great work. We expect wonderful things from you in the future. The first award I get to present is the Jewish Federation President's Award. And this year, I'm awarding this to a group of people who I cannot say enough wonderful things about. Since March of 2020, the members of our Reentry Steering Committee have met more than weekly to steward the Jewish Federation's management response to the COVID-19 epidemic. Each has brought their unique perspective, expertise, insight, and compassion to every meeting, every thoughtful discussion, and every challenging decision. For their remarkable commitment and dedication to ensure the health, safety, and well-being of the Jewish Federation, Foundation, and JCC staff, volunteers, and members, We commend them and recognize them with the Jewish Federation of Greater New Haven's President Award. And this is being awarded to the list on your screen: Emily Bonnick, Bob Felice, Stephanie Green, Jeffrey Hoos, Scott Hurwitz, Shannon Lane, Steve Miller, Paul Portnoy, Craig Rigelhop, Michael Shambrom, Dave Sirowich, Jeffrey Sklarz, and Evan Weiner. Thank you all for all of your hard work. It has truly been an honor and privilege to serve as the president of our Jewish Federation over the past year. It is hard to believe 1 year later, with a vaccine developed in record time, we are still restricted in our ability to be together. I am so grateful for the hard work of so many people in our community. I had a front row seat to see how our agencies and synagogues stepped up in this time of crisis, worked tirelessly to ensure that our community continued to do great work, protect our most vulnerable, and tried to create community in a world of Zoom. We are so fortunate to have incredible staff and lay leaders who, under incredibly difficult conditions, work together to ensure our community continued to thrive. A special thank you to Judy Alpern for her tireless work on our behalf. She's an outstanding leader who puts the needs of our community above all else. She has been an amazing partner over this past year, and no words can adequately express my gratitude for all of her hard work. Despite all the work in dealing with the pandemic, we continued the mission of our organization. In the past year, we embarked and completed a strategic planning initiative that helped us chart a course for the future of our organization. We rapidly put together a team of staff and lay leaders to help plan our strategy to ensure our financial stability as we navigated the changing landscape with COVID. Thanks to their hard work, we built an 18-month recovery plan that I'm happy to say is well ahead of schedule. Having this framework in place allowed us to monitor our recovery and gave us some realistic expectations as the year progressed. We completed our first bylaws review and revision in more than 10 years to help strengthen our governance. All the while, we had a dedicated group of lay leaders and staff meeting weekly to review policies and make decisions about how to safely bring our community back together at the JCC and across our region. Thanks to the hard work of this group, we developed online fitness classes, brought activities back to the JCC in an organized manner, and helped local families by safely operating the Beverly Levy Early Learning Center and having one of the largest turnouts for JCC camp this past summer. All of these things took countless hours to ensure we made decisions that protected both our members and staff. I want to make a special thank you to Dr. Stephanie Green. Stephanie spent an enormous amount of time on all of our committees, providing guidance to ensure that our efforts were done so in a safe manner. We could not have been successful this year without her dedication to this community. Finally, I want to thank all of you. Without your support of our agencies, synagogues, and our federation, we could not have accomplished anything. So many of you stepped up to volunteer your time and to financially support our community. Our annual campaign was a huge success this year, raising over $2.4 million, with an additional $500,000 in our special COVID Maimonides Fund that supported local agencies in need. I want to acknowledge and express my gratitude for the incredible efforts of our Chief Development Officer, Amy Holtz, our Women's Philanthropy Chair, Nancy Cohen, and our campaign co-chairs, Jody Allant and Howard Ryder. No words can properly express my deep remorse on the passing of Howard Ryder last week. His commitment to this community, to Israel, and the Jewish community around the world was unparalleled. He's an incredible mentor to me and a role model for what it means to be an active member of your community. His absence will be felt by all of us. As we embark on the next year, I humbly ask for your continued support. Our community is always stronger together. And as we emerge from this pandemic, I am hopeful that the lessons we learned served as a springboard to do wonderful things this year. L'Shana Tova. Now I'd like to convene the meeting of members of the Jewish Federation Board of Directors. We will dispense of the reading of the minutes and proceed to our first order of business, an amendment to our bylaws. A special thank you, a task force convened earlier this year, the Jewish Federation bylaws, which had not been amended in a very long time. I want to thank David Schlossberg, Norm Rasky, Robin Plitsky for their hard work and dedication to this process. Posted on the Jewish Federation website 1 month prior to our meeting are the board recommendations for bylaws amendment to be approved this evening. The bylaws call for the membership of the Jewish Federation vote upon the recommendation of the Jewish Federation Board, which in this case was unanimous support. I will now call for a vote to approve the changes to the bylaws as proposed. Please vote by Zoom as the prompt enters your screen. Voting. It passes. Thank you. We're now going to move to the recognition of those who are completing their current terms. Our organization has been strengthened by the leadership and devotion of an outstanding officer who is completing this term. Randy Harrison has demonstrated selfless commitment in offering his time and talent to navigate, innovate, and engage others in meeting our important mission. Randy has served as treasurer of this organization since 2013, and during that time has helped us navigate financial challenges, including a fire and COVID. I'm sure that no other treasurer can say that. Through it all, he has been steady and caring hand that has guided us through this storm. Thank you for your leadership, Randy, and your work has made us stronger. For those directors who are completing their term on our board, in addition, our appreciation of your board participation, each of you has offered your time and experience to serve in several committees and important initiatives during your term. We look forward to your remaining active participants in the work of the Jewish Federation. Our outgoing directors, Barry Kelmacher, Andy Weinstein, Sherry Mayerson, Kenny Campbell, Seth Hollander, and Nan Bergbussel. I now have the honor of presenting to the Federation the positions of our President-elect and Co-Treasurer. For President-elect, Jerry Barker, and our new Co-Treasurer, Jeffrey Sklarz. This came forward from the nominating committee. Can I have a second to the motion? Thank you, Dina. Having made this motion and seconded, kindly turn your attention to the poll appearing on your screen. Please enter your vote and push enter. The motion has been voted and passed. Mazel tov and congratulations to our new officers. I now have the honor of presenting the following nominations for Federation board members. Re-elected nominees, Stephanie Green, Harry Schwartz, and Jonathan Snyder. And our new board of director nominees, Rabbi Hyman, Emily Sandberg, David Sirowich, and Craig Sklar. Can I have a second to this motion? Thank you, Dina. Having this motion made and seconded, kindly turn your attention to the poll appearing on your screen. Please enter your vote and push enter. Thank you for those who voted. The motion has been voted and passed. Mazel tov and congratulations to our newly elected and re-elected board members. Under normal circumstances, at this moment in our annual meeting, we would ask all who served in the past year to rise to be acknowledged for your commitment to our Jewish community. While you are welcome to rise in your own homes, we hope you know that we see you and we appreciate your sacrifice of time away from your families, of your investment of your talents to strengthen our organization, and your selfless philanthropy to enrich the lives of others. Please click on the raised hand emoji now so that our community can scroll through and see and send their virtual appreciation to all of you. Thank you so much. In closing, I just want to say thank you for those that have attended. I know that this has been an interesting meeting. I want to thank Derek, who is our fearless leader at the board here. If you saw us set up in the room here, I'd love to turn around and show everyone. He's got about 5 screens set up, an owl in the front, headphones, and I really appreciate you working through this and getting us through this meeting. To everyone at home, have a wonderful holiday season. There being no further business, I hereby adjourn this business meeting of the Jewish Federation Board of Directors. Have a wonderful evening.